Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alison, the online piano and the online violin tutor. So in this video I want to talk to you about how to rosin your bow. Something that might seem incredibly rudimentary, but something that I think just a lot of people just struggle to kind of understand or get to grips with. So I just want to share with you how I rosin my bow, a few tips and all that kind of thing. So the first thing when you get your new violin out of the box, imagine you've got a brand new violin, the bow will not be rosined. So if you try and bow on your violin, the bow will just slide all over the strings and it will just, it won't give you any sound at all, absolutely no sound, and you'll be wondering what's wrong with it. And that is because you haven't put any rosin on the bow. Now when you get your violin, it's got no rosin on the bow, there will be some rosin in the case. The first thing I would do is just toss that rosin into the bin and get yourself some proper rosin. So it doesn't have to be anything particularly fancy, but you do want a good quality rosin, maybe something sort of, you know, $10, £10 and upwards. And I know that seems a lot of money for rosin, but you know, the rosin is the thing that's going to give you the most grip. It would be like the equivalent of, for example, putting really cheap tires on your car, filling it up with really cheap watered down petrol, you know, really cheap nasty oil, all the things that you'd put into a car to make the car work at its best and its most optimum and premium, and you're kind of skanking out and putting all the cheap crappy stuff on, then wondering why the tires are wearing out quickly, it's sliding over the road, really the engine's not operating as it should do. So it's very similar to that. But the good news is with rosin is that even though you might be paying what you think is a lot of money for it, rosins will last forever. So just buy one and then you're done with it. Just don't drop it. So toss the rosin away that comes with if you've got especially if you've got a cheap kind of student violin, $100 to $150, that kind of stuff. So toss that rosin away that you get with your cheap violin, student violin, whatever, and go and grab yourself something new, or something much better. The one that I like to use is this one, and it's Sartory Rosin. I'll put a link to this underneath in the description, but it looks like this. It does come in a fancy little tub, but this is the best rosin that I have used. I've used a few rosins in the past. I've used Parastro Gold Flex, didn't like that. I've used Baker's rosin, unfortunately I didn't like that either. A couple of others as well. Just trying to think of some of the names. They're kind of just slipping my mind at the moment. But the one that I keep going back to is this one. This is Sartory Rosin. As I say, I'll link it underneath this. This, again, it isn't a cheap rosin, but it just lasts forever. And I keep going back to kind of repurchase it. And the reason why I like this is because it's it is pretty much dust free. So the trouble is when you buy cheap rosin is that it's very dusty. It's very sticky. It creates more scratch on the violin, too much thickness, too much heaviness on the bow. Everything about it is just absolutely awful. Plus, if you're new, you're going to kind of over rosin as well. So the whole thing's just going to be very, very dusty, just not very nice on the violin. So this isn't dusty at all. It's really clean. It gives me a really crisp, clean, clear sound from the bow. The other rosins that I've tried do not do that. They just create a lot of scratch, and I can't stand anything worse than scratch. So when you get your bow out of the case, just tighten the bow a little bit like that, and then you want to set about rosining your bow. So this is for if you have a new bow with absolutely no rosin at all. I'm not going to completely do this because otherwise I'll over rosin my bow, but you'll need to spend a good 10-15 minutes rosining your bow. 10 to 15 minutes rosining your bow. So I get a lot of comments where people saying, oh, I put rosin on my bow and it's still not working. Put more rosin on the bow is my answer to that. If you're still not getting a sound, put more rosin on the bow. You've got to remember the bows that you're using, if you've got a cheap student violin, is that they're synthetic hair, and it's really poor quality synthetic hair as well. So the rosin will take a good while to get going. So you just want to start at the end like this. Again, I'm just showing you for an example. Just scrubbing along and just sort of moving up the bow. Just going to speed it up a little bit like that. And then just do the same thing, work your way down, just little section by section as you're going along. Just start to gradually move it down. The reason why I'm not going up and down in a single stroke is just because that's actually quite hard to maintain, and you don't really get enough rosin to get your bow going. Remember, you're trying to get the bow going from complete scratch. So you want to just small movements, and you want to scrub it in and just gently move it up. Once you've sort of gone up and down, going down a few times, you know, maybe 3 or 4 times, then you can swipe up and down just to kind of smooth it all out a bit. And then you want to try that on the violin and see how much sound, you know, draw a nice long bow and see how consistent the sound is. If it still sounds a bit kind of wishy-washy, go back, you know, and put some more rosin on the bow. But if you're not getting a sound, apply more rosin. You don't want to over apply it, but over applying is better than under applying it. Don't worry about over applying it. If you under apply, you won't get a sound, so you're going to have to apply more. If you over apply, the worst thing that will happen is that you'll just get a lot of fall off here on the violin, and when you're done playing or whatever, just get a clean dry cloth and just wipe it off. That's all. Just make sure you just keep the violin clean and just wipe it off, and then when you come to play it again, you'll play a little bit more of it off, clean the violin, just rub the cloth along the top of the strings just to clean all the rosin off. I mean, that's worst case scenario if you over rosin, but then you won't need to rosin for a really good long while, so don't be rosining all the time. If you've over rosined it and you're getting lots of fallout, then you don't need to apply anymore. So you don't need to actually apply rosin every single time you play either. That's a common myth. I mean, unless you're playing 8, 9, 10 hours a day, which, let's face it, nobody is apart from professional violinists, you're not going to need to rosin your bow every single day at all. I don't really rosin my bow that often. I maybe rosin my bow once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, depending on how much I'm playing and things like that. But I really don't like to over rosin my bow. I've always got rosin of some sort on my bow, so I really just do enough to kind of keep it up. But you don't need to do it every day. Even if you're practicing every day, you probably only need to rosin maybe once a week. If you're practicing every day for about maybe an hour or 2, maybe once a week, possibly even twice a week. So depending on what you're doing and how heavy you're going and the things that you're playing and stuff. So probably on average, I would say once a week. If you're playing every day, that's all you need to do. So you've just rosined your bow up from scratch and it's all working well. Maybe you've over rosined it, that's fine, doesn't matter, because at least you're getting a good sound. Just play it off, no need to add any more for a good while until you feel it's sort of starting to, you'll hear it, it'll just sound less grippy. The sound will start to sound a little bit more hollow, a little bit more transparent, and that's when you need to use a little bit more. So when we need to rosin the bow after a week of playing, what we do is this. So I haven't rosined my bow in quite a while actually, so I will be doing this now in real time. For real. I was actually going to rosin the bow before I started making these videos that I'm making today, and then I thought I would just hold off on that because I need to show you for this video. So I haven't rosined my bow for quite some time. My bow is still absolutely fine. It's still playing absolutely fine. I just want to add just a little drop more, and this is exactly what I do when I'm adding a drop more, and I think you'd be surprised. So I'm just going to try and get myself all into the screen. So what I start by doing is just scrubbing along the bottom. And what I'll do is I'll just tilt the bow like this, just so I make sure that I'm not just going along the flat, but I'm sort of getting I'm getting the sides. So I'll scrub along, tilting the bow. You can see I'm kind of tilting the bow as I'm going along. I'm just scrubbing along. Remember, if you've got a good quality rosin, you really don't need much at all. That's why it's good value for money, because you really don't need much. So then I'm just tilting as I'm going along. And now you can see I've just reached the top. I'll just give the top a little extra because it always kind of rubs off at the top and it always rubs off at the bottom. That's it. And then I will just do a couple of... Done. And that's me done for another week or 2, and that was all I will do to rosin the bow. And that's it. That is literally all you need to do to rosin the bow. But bearing in mind, I am talking about good quality rosin here. If you have a cheaper rosin, or you're still using the rosin that came in the case, that might be a different story. You might have to apply more, but trust me, you will find this is a lot smoother. There isn't really any dust coming off there. You can feel the whole thing is smoother. The cheap ones that you get, I really can't remember the name of those, But anyway, the cheap ones that you get, just they're, you know, you will just get a lot of dust and a lot of fallout with them anyway. So I can't really speak for those too much, but I'm talking about, you know, a good quality rosin, something like this. Doesn't have to be this, but this is my favorite one that I've been going back to for the last 20 odd years. I'm always repurchasing it, and I have about 2 or 3 of these on the go. I have one in my cupboard there, I have one in my case, I have one in my electric violin case. I just have them everywhere just in case, you know, I can't find them to hand. So if you've got a good quality rosin, that is literally in real time how I just rosined the bow, just there, all I do and all you need to do, and you are now set for about another week's worth of playing, or thereabout another week's worth of playing. So that is how to rosin the bow. That is how I rosin my bow. And don't forget as well, I did mention at the start of the video that I do have a 1 to 30 violin course as well. For those of you that don't know, what I will do is put a link to the video coming up in a card, which I forget which corner it is now. Whichever corner it is coming up now, there'll be a link to the video, which is all about my 1 to 30 violin course. It's a really, really good violin course. It teaches you from absolute scratch. There's nothing else like it on the internet. I know I keep going on about this, but there really isn't anything like it on the internet. And it 100% guarantees to teach you and take you from a complete and utter beginner to a really decent, accomplished intermediate level. I absolutely stand by that guarantee, and I can assure you that it works. And as I say, there's nothing else like it on the internet. So if you are looking, if you're watching this video and you're just trying to start out and you're really not sure where to start, you haven't got a teacher, you don't want to spend a lot of money, then check out my course. I will put a link to it underneath this video, because I can't link it obviously in this video. Everything will be linked underneath the video, and I will link another video which will show you what you're going to learn, what you're going to be going through, what you're going to go from, and all that kind of good stuff. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.